All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Apologize, I lost my voice over the weekend, so bear with me here. Um, Today we have Lori Stoffer, who's a public information officer with the Scottsdale Fire Department. And in Lori's role with community relations, she manages fire department events, directs social media, media activities, and connects families with resources and coordinates risk reduction programs in the community. Her passion for making a difference is in direct line with the fire department's mission, We Care for You. And Lori has a presentation today to give to everybody, and I believe there should be a little bit of time at the end for any questions. So there should be an option for everybody to post any questions in the chat. And if Lori can't see them, I'll make sure to get them to her as time permits. So with that, Lori, I'm going to turn it over to you and you can share your screen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me to kind of take some of your time today. I'm going to go ahead and pull up these slides, and I need a thumbs up from somebody to let me know that you can see them. Is there, Matthew, can you see them? Can you give me a thumbs up? Oh, you're muted,
We're
sir.
good. We can see it. It's all on there. You're good to go, Lori.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So the fire department is very involved in the community. Our mission is We Care for You, and we want to reduce people's risks and chances for injury. So one of the things that we really focus on is this being safe in your home. Now, I want you guys to think about some things as we're going through the slides and the communication today of this might not be relevant to you now personally, but it might be relevant to your family members. And it definitely will be relevant to you as you get older. So I just kind of want you to get in that headspace of what is it that I might need to be doing to protect myself and make my home the safest place possible, right? So let me see if I'm going to have to take myself off of the Teams view so I can see my slides in advance. So here we go. Okay, so I want to first talk about emergency response. When I get invited to speak at a lot of community events or any kind of group things, and they always say, well, the fire department's coming. Well, then they realize that it's me, and they're like, oh, disappointed that it's not the firefighters. So I include this slide in here with the firefighters and the dogs. So who does, who can beat that? But I just wanted to review really very quickly about what happens when you call 911. When you call 911, you will get the police department or the sheriff's department first. As soon as you identify that it is not bullets and bad guys, that's the problem, then they connect you to the fire department. In our area in Phoenix, that actually goes to Phoenix Fire Department. They dispatch for about 30 cities in our valley. It is a system that's called automatic aid. That means we don't care the color of the truck or the name on the back of the shirt. We just need to get to you as quickly as possible. We know that a room on fire can flash over in less than 2 minutes. That's uncontrolled by sprinklers. And when I say flash over, that means everything in that room is now on fire. A person can bleed out from an arterial bleed in less than 3 minutes. A person's chance of survival is going down 10% for every minute that passes if you're not doing good CPR in a cardiac event. We know that every minute, every second counts. A lot of the classes that I teach help people understand what happens and what you can do before those emergency responders get to you, because you can actually make a really big difference in the situation when it comes to that. So we want to get to you as quickly as possible and help as soon as we can. Now, what do the dispatchers need to know? They are going to ask you a lot of questions. They do start sending people your way as you are answering those questions. So don't stress out if you feel like, oh, this is taking too long. They are starting to send people your way. They just want to make sure that they are sending you all of the people that you need and all of the right people that you need. Okay. They need to know where the emergency is. Yes, we can find you from a landline, the phone that's still connected to the wall. We can find you from a cell phone. It might take a beat longer. They will always ask you where the emergency is because you might not be exactly where that emergency is. Okay, so they need to know exactly that and as detailed as possible. please be that, because we have a mini emergency room worth of equipment on the trucks. We want to park it as close as we can to the issue so that we don't have to drag all of those boxes of equipment and medicine and everything to the scene any further than we have to. Okay, so the fire department shows up on a medical call. And a lot of people will ask why. Um, that is because we are your pre-hospital care. So there are 2 emergency medical technicians on every truck and 2 paramedics on every truck. That's basic life support and advanced life support. The basic life support are the people who can do compressions and set up equipment. The medics are the ones who can actually administer medicine and direct the medical care in that situation. The ambulance is merely your ride. Okay. Now, the cool thing about Scottsdale is that we are starting to operate our own emergency transport. So, within 5 years, all of the medical transports in Scottsdale will likely be by Scottsdale Fire Department rescues. We call them rescues versus ambulances because they actually have a medic on board. So if you see something that is an ambulance, that means there's 2 EMTs, those basic life support people on board. And then we in Scottsdale will take one of our medics off of a truck to ride with you to the hospital. By operating our own ambulances, we don't have to take that medic off the truck, and the fire truck is fully staffed, and then we are getting you safely to the hospital with that medic and EMT on board. Pardon me for a second. I need to take a cough. Do you guys have any questions about that at all before we move forward? We just want to wait to the end.
Yeah, and if a question pops up, Lori, in the chat or whatever, I'll flag you and let you know.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. So, home safe home. The fire department, we answer 911 calls all the time. Why is it that we get called? Well, yes, of course, we get called for fires and we get called for cardiac events, but we also get called for falls and lift assists from the floor. We get 100 up to 125 fall calls a week. That adds up to more than 5,000 fall calls a year. Scottsdale is not special. This is a problem that we face across the country, which is why we, as fire departments, spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to help people reduce their risk of falling, especially as we age, because it can be very life-threatening. So again, we're going through the process today. I want you to think about your typical day. Where do you go? What do you do? And again, if this is something that you're thinking about your mother, your father, or some kind of loved one, where do they go? Where do they do? And what might a fall change for them? We start falling at age 50, which can be life changing. It can be life threatening as soon as we hit age 65 and older. So we just got to think about how can we reduce those fall risks. A couple more facts for you. We get more than 200 ER related injuries in the US, or I'm sorry, fall related injuries to the emergency room in the US. And we know that more than a third of the adults fall every year over the age 65. We don't want you to be one of them. I also want you to think about, 20 to 30% of those people who fall suffer moderate to severe injuries, including bruises, hip fractures, head trauma. Most common are happening to the spine, hip, and those places where we're banging up against the floor or the ground. Okay. The CDC estimates that 25,000 older adults die as a result of falls. We've got to do something different than what we're doing. We don't want to keep, and frankly, once we fall, we continue to fall, and this is a real challenge. The sad thing is that so many of our falls occur at our home, and that is supposed to be our safe space, right? We need to do something different at home. That is where we have the most control. There are things that we can maybe do as when we're out and about, but our home should be the place where we are the best taken care of as far as reducing those fall risks. So who is at risk? Well, we've already talked about that as we get older, our chance of falling increases and it becomes life-threatening. Um, People who are older than 85 are 4 to 5 times more likely to fall than people who are even 65 to 74. Men are more likely to die from a fall. They're 50% higher. And women are much more likely than men to have non-fatal injuries. They have a lot of the fractures. And adults 75 and older who fall are 4 to 5 times more likely to be admitted to a long-term care facility for a year or longer. And we know that you guys want to stay at home as long as possible. That's what I would want to do. And so people get a little nervous about, oh my gosh, I'm falling. Um, and I have to call 911, what you really should also be doing is allowing us to come in and help you identify any of those risks and reduce them, because we know how important it is for you to stay at home as safely and as long as possible. So there are physical changes as we age. Um, our bodies, our center of gravity changes, our eyesight changes. I'm now 55, and I know my eyesight has definitely taken a hit over the last couple of years. It's very important to stay on top of that eyesight, because as things blur together, we don't see changes in the flooring as well. There is a staircase at the Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce, and it's beautiful, but I have to definitely hold on to the railing when I go down them, because they kind of flow into each other the way that it looks. So I want you to be thoughtful about that. And again, that coordination and balance. Um, the center of gravity is off. We tend to fall so much easier, and frankly, medicines can also throw off our coordination and balance. So um, we need to think about those things and do what we can to prevent those falls. So let's talk about a couple of those pieces in there right now. The highest issue that we see, again, is those medications, okay? When we talk about polypharmacy, we're talking about people taking multiple long-term medications. We're talking about people who are taking more than 4 medications. Some of them are taking more medications than medically necessary. If you're taking more than 4 medications, um, you need to have regular conversations with your physician about, am I still taking everything that I'm supposed to? Is there anything I can reduce? We tend to um, go to the doctor with an issue. The doctor prescribes medication. Remember that it is called practicing medicine for a reason. They prescribe medicine. We have some side effects, those long lists of side effects that are in there. We might have one of those. We go back to the doctor and say, hey, I'm suffering from this. Maybe it's a different doctor and they don't realize you're on medicine that causes that side effect. So they're now prescribing you something to treat that side effect, which also has a long list of side effects, which is how we end up make basically medical zombies, because we're taking so many medications to counteract all of these side effects, when in reality we really should have maybe taken a change in that original medication. We also know that people will say this medicine is not, I'm not doing well on it. So the doctor, again, practicing medicine, will say, hey, let's try this medicine. Some people forget or don't realize that they're supposed to stop taking the original medicine because now they're double dosing. This is very common with cardiac. So again, have those conversations, know exactly what you're taking, keep a list of these things so that if your physician can review those, you can also have it reviewed at the area agency on aging, just to make sure that there are no red flags. And frankly, you really need to have a list of those medications with you in case you fall, because that can also change how we treat you based on the medicines that you're on. The other issue that we have is that some people will fill prescriptions at more than one retail pharmacy. Now, CVS pharmacies talk to each other. Walgreens talks to each other. Walgreens and CVS don't necessarily talk to each other. Your pharmacist is one of your amazing friends that will also be able to identify any problems with the meds that you're on that might be counteracting each other. We've gone over this. Okay, high-risk medications. Sedatives, antidepressants, and anti-anxiety medications, those benzos, those have a really tight risk link to making people dizzy and make you fall. So if you're taking any of those, I want you to be aware of that because it really can throw off your balance. Here's another issue that we have, blood thinners. If you are on high-risk medications and blood thinners and you fall, that can cause brain bleeds. If you fall and you know you're on blood thinners and you have hit your head, please, please, please go to the doctor. Please go to the hospital, have them check you out. There are so many cases that I know of within Scottsdale where I've heard people tell me, yes, my neighbor fell, hit her head. She said she was fine. She was a little embarrassed. She's fine. She's fine. Unfortunately, she went home and died from a brain bleed. She didn't know that that had even happened, but she was on blood thinners, and so we want you to be super understanding that these things can be deadly in a fall. So please have you know, take precautions for yourself in that case. Here's some examples of blood thinners. Um, take note of any of those if you're on. Some of these things are over the counters. I am a naproxen taker. I know that I bruise a lot because I'm taking my naproxen and sometimes my ibuprofen. These are all things that are going to make a difference in the way that your blood flows. Okay. Um, we know that you might have some kind of diagnosis that requires you to take them. That's okay. Just please, please, please understand that they do put you at a risk when you are, if you fall. Okay, so be aware of those and communicate those with the people around you and those medics that come to take care of you if you've fallen. Drugs are the most modifiable or one of the most modifiable risk factors for falls. Please have that conversation. I cannot underscore this enough to make sure that all of your physicians, if you have multiple, are very aware of everything that you are taking, including over-the-counter medicine, if you're taking that often, so that they know what your situation is and can consider those things as you may add or delete medications off of your list. Okay, this next portion, I want you guys to kind of keep track for yourself, have a piece of paper or hold a finger up for yourself or for your loved one, and really kind of take stock of where your risk factors are just in this conversation today. Okay, do you have problems walking or moving around? If you're already struggling with that, we know that that's going to be increasing your risk of falling. By the way, if you or a loved one is using a walker to help them walk, we love walkers, they're beautiful. Walkers should not have four wheels, they should have two. And then those are, and have those on the inside of the walker in the front. And then you would have some kind of slides or skis on the back. A lot of people really love to have the rolling ones because they'll sit and they'll move around in that way, but they're not going to be actually anything that's going to help you not fall, frankly. They help you stabilize as you're walking, but if you trip and fall, or if that um, four-wheeled walker gets ahead of you in any way, it's not going to help you at all. And I've said this before in some independent living centers, and they're like, well, there's brakes on them. Well, but if you're falling, you're not hitting the brakes. Um, we just know the statistics are showing that the ones that only have the two wheels are going to actually be better for you. Okay. We've talked about the medications. Do you take more than 4 medications? Do you have foot problems? Do you have any kind of numbness in your foot? Do you wear unsafe footwear? My mom used to call those stupid shoes, and she had to stop wearing them as soon as she fell in Target. And they made us sign all kinds of paperwork that said we would not sue them because she had fallen when it was her own balance on her shoes. Blood pressure drops when standing up, causing dizziness. I don't know a person who hasn't experienced this at some point in their life. Remember that when we are in this position for a long period of time, our blood pressure is flowing in a different way. And as soon as we change that, that changes the blood pressure a little bit. Think about when you're laying down at night. So everything's flat, right? Oh my gosh, I have to get up to go to the bathroom. You really need to take it slow. You need to be sitting up, swing your feet over the side of the bed, pause, stand up, pause. You're allowing that blood to start moving in a different way so it doesn't freak out your system, and then take your steps forward. We have a lot of falls at night because of the blood pressure issue, and people have slid out of their bed when they were trying to do something else. Okay, problem seeing. What's your vision like? Do you have tripping hazards in your home? This can include those throw rugs that we love so much. This can be your pet. This can be stuff that you have scattered around your house because you've stacked up books or newspapers or something and you think you're going to move them at some point. So those are going to be a hazard for you. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far. All right, next slide. Keep counting. Are you over the age of 65? Do you take medication that helps you sleep or calms your nerves? Do you have difficulty getting in or out of the bathtub unassisted? We have a lot of falls in the bathroom, and that is my personal biggest fear for myself. I do not want to ever have to call 911 to help me because I've fallen getting in or out of the shower or on or off the toilet. So there are things that you could do to help reduce those risks, but you know, that is a fall risk. Okay, next one. Problems with strength or sensation in your legs or feet. I have some pinched nerves going on in my low back, which then addresses all the way down on the right side of my leg into my pinky toe, and I often have tingling in my ankle. I currently have tingling in my pinky toe, which is actually kind of amazing because most of the time it just feels numb. So I have to be very thoughtful about where I'm placing my feet. Here's the big one. Have you slipped, tripped, or fallen in the last 12 months? Have you almost fallen in the last 12 months? We know that if you have done this, you're very likely to do it again. And your brain worries about that. Your unconscious brain worries about it and will do things that actually put you at higher risk because it's afraid of falling. So you know, you might know somebody who furniture or wall walks, you know, they're using that to keep their balance, you know, or they won't go out anymore because they feel like they're going to fall and they're putting themselves at risk, when there are things that we can actually do to protect ourselves in doing that. Okay, so we had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So how many do you have? You don't have to tell me, but this next slide is going to be important. Even if you didn't have any health problems, you have a 10% chance of falling. That's kind of shocking. You add one, we're already at 20%. Look at this, at 4 or more, we're at an 80% chance of falling. So 4 or more of those cases that I just presented to you in those 2 slides, if you have more than 4, your chance of falling is significant. But remember, we can prevent falls. We want to keep you out of that vicious cycle. We don't want you to fall and then fear of falling again and then change into this really terrible situation where you're falling and falling and falling. So let's talk about some of those ways that you can do that. Here are 8 ways that you can prevent falling. Exercising will help you keep that balance. Remember, that was a big thing that happens to us as we get older. Our strength and balance and coordination goes down. We really need to stay active. There are matter of balance classes that are available to you, and if you don't know where to find them, then we'll get you my contact information and I can help connect you with the people who offer that. And you don't even have to do that. Even just, you know, taking a nice walk around your neighborhood will be good. I do want you to think about, though, if you're shuffling your feet in any way, that those sidewalks can be a little bit challenging. So I recommend that you actually take your walks with another person. And then maybe even consider doing the silver sneakers at the mall during those hot months, because we do get really hot around here in this state. All right, number 2, take your time. Getting out of chairs, getting out of bed slowly. Again, change your position, pause, change your position, pause. Make sure you have your balance and make sure that you know your surroundings. Keep stairs, pathways, and walking areas clear. Um, there are not a lot of homes that have, well, it depends on your community. There are some communities that have, they're all one story, then there are those. My home is definitely a 2-story. I grew up in a 2-story. Putting things on the stairs that are supposed to go upstairs in one of your trips was a bad habit that I picked up when I was a young person, and my mom was always doing that. So we want to keep those stairs free of clutter, but frankly, we want to keep any of your walkways free of clutter. We want to make sure that you have good lighting so that we can see what's happening, and make sure that you've got good handrails along the full length of both sides of the stairs is recommended. I have seen some architecture where they don't have any handrails at all, which I'm like, okay, that means I'm going to put my greasy hands on your wall because I'm going to need to make sure that I'm balancing as I'm going down the stairs. We just really want to make sure that you're having something that you can even just lightly take your fingertips down, but be able to grab if you start to fall. It'll be very helpful. All right, number 4. Improve the lighting in and outside your home. Night lights are fantastic. Put them on. Get the ones that are motion censored, are not very bright, but enough that gives you enough light that you can see, because again, that vision is going to be a problem. We also recommend that you could put a flashlight by your bedside in case you need to use it for that. Okay. Um, I just can't underscore it enough that being able to see where you're going is critical, even when you think you know. I have a black cat who likes to sleep on the floor, and sometimes he likes to sleep on the floor in the pathway from my bed to the bathroom. Not a good thing for either of us, I must say. Okay, non-slip mats and grab bars. Okay, this is that bathroom situation. It is very critical that you consider your grab bars. I started having some significant issues flare up on my back a couple of weeks ago, to the point where I was already been like, we need grab bars and we need them now in the bathroom, just because I was having just a really hard time standing up and sitting down to get onto the toilet. These are also very important as you're going in and out of the shower. If you need help with getting those installed, we do have resources that can help you do that. It is just very important that you are able to step in and out of the shower or the tub safely, sitting down in the toilet. Sometimes the way that they've built your bathroom might not allow you to have a grab bar for your toilet, but there are adaptations to the toilet that we can make that will make it easier for you to get on and off from that. The other thing that we often have in the bathroom is water. So if you have any kind of spilled liquid, please make sure that you get those wiped up immediately. Anybody slipped on tile and landed on the ground, that would be me. Probably at least a handful of times. It's not good. My chiropractor makes a lot of money off of me due to those falls. One more thing I want to mention about the non-slip mats. You may want to actually consider getting some non-slip tape from the hardware store. It's actually better than the little mats, mostly because the mats can collect water underneath them and grow things, and so then people won't use them all of the time. And the non-slip mats are there, or the non-slip tape is there all the time. And sometimes you'll go to a place where the tub is just gorgeous. I stayed in a VRBO up in Prescott, and the tub was just fantastic, but it had no non-slip things in it, and I almost did the splits in the tub. and basically my was trying to shave my leg, and my left leg slipped out from underneath me, and I kind of did the splits and landed, and I was like, wow, that was kind of scary. Went on my time, and it was about 2 weeks later that I started to have pain because the impingement got worse. And my chiropractor was like, what happened to you? I'm like, I don't know. It was like, oh, wait a minute. I know exactly what happened. This is why my hips are all twisted like this. It's because I fell in the bathtub. All right, number 6. Be aware of those uneven surfaces. Um, we see this a lot. We love our throw rugs, but please put rubber non-skid backing on them, because we don't want them to slide out from underneath you. We don't want them to trip you up because of wrinkles or folds. We don't want your foot to catch the edge of them. So it is very, very important for you to watch those rugs. Sidewalks and pavement outdoors can also be uneven, so keep in mind of that you are being thoughtful about where you're placing your feet. I was lucky enough to travel overseas um, last summer, and we were in Greece walking on these beautiful tiled sidewalks, but it wasn't even at all. And it wasn't even that the tiles were uneven, but the sidewalk underneath them was. So I felt like I was walking up and down these little hills, um, and tripping over them over and over again, because I was suffering from uneven surfaces, and it was all this kind of coral tile, and my vision was not picking up the changes in the steps. So, and I'm trying to look around at all of the beauty, and not stare at my feet the whole time. And I realized after about the third time I tripped, didn't fall, but I tripped, third or fourth times. I'm like, okay, I got to really watch what I'm doing. All right, number 7, wear sturdy, well-fitting shoes. It's ideal that you wear low-heeled shoes with non-slip soles. We are not in love with shoes that do not have a back on them. That includes slippers. Stocking feet can also be dangerous depending on where you are, especially if you've got there's in this picture, you might be able to tell that it has the top step is that beautiful wood, which can be very slippery if someone has just dusted it and polished it. And you can slide right out from it. So please, please, please choose safety over fashion. Don't wear those stupid shoes like my mom did. Number 8, have a list of your current medications. We talked about this. Have it with you. Not only review it with your physician, but have something with you. And you can actually put it in your phone app if you have a smartphone. There's usually a health app. I highly recommend that you get into that health app and put critical information about you. Yes, we will be able to get into your app, because they have designed them that if we hold it down, you can power off your phone, you can call 911, or it will pop up that medical information for us, so that we will be able to get it in there. You can put your height and weight, estimating what your weight is. I think my weight is probably not absolutely correct in my app, but it's in there. I also have my allergies. I am allergic to Demerol, and it is not a good thing if somebody tried to give me that kind of pain reliever, because I will have a terrible reaction to it. And then list any of those medications that you're on. I'm on thyroid medication. I don't know if that makes a difference with anything, but they need to know that that levothyroxine is in my system. So put that into that app. You can also put your in case of emergency information in there, and any other insurance information and any of that. You can get that in your iPhones, Androids, all of those. They do have apps, and they are free. If it doesn't already come as a default app on your phone, you can certainly download it, and again, it's free. Okay, so that's the falling part. I want to know if you have anything out of what we discussed that will change, that you're going to change in your life. Do you have any ideas of some things that you would want to do to reduce your risk of falling? You can throw it in the chat. we can maybe do raised hands. Let's just take a minute and see if there's anything that surprised you with what we identified today. I see Kelly Martin is typing. Shoes and rugs. Yeah, I used to wear these spiked 3-inch heels around work, and there's no way. It really is a muscle. To be able to wear those, I can't do it at all anymore. I am very comfortable now in my low-heeled shoes. Good. One other thing that I want to talk about before we briefly go through some fire safety things, because I am with the fire department, I want you to put your arms out sideways, okay? When we are in our younger years, when we have our peripheral vision, having our arms out to the side, we could see our wiggling hands. So wiggle your fingers like this, okay? As we age, our peripheral vision shrinks. And so I want you to take your outstretched hand, put them aside, and then I want you to start moving them forward. Make sure that you're keeping your head straight. And then where is it that you actually start to see your wiggling fingers? It's very different than what it was when we were younger, which is why a lot of us as older adults into our 60s, 70s, 80s, start to have a lot of trouble with driving because our peripheral vision has shrunk, and we've got to really pay attention if we're behind the wheel on that. So I thought that was a really kind of interesting thing. All right, since we don't have any more in the chat, I'm going to take a couple more minutes with you guys to address some ways that you can reduce your risk of fire injury. Why do we talk about this? It's not really just because I'm with the fire department, but because as older adults, the risk of dying in a home fire skyrockets. So our highest risks are those among under the age of 5 because they're not self-mobile, and then over the age of 65 because again, we become less and less self-mobile. So we want to make sure that we're doing the things that we can to reduce those risks. So let's look at those 8 ways to prevent fire. All right. If you smoke, smoke outside. A lot of people already do this. They're very comfortable with it. But we did have, I don't remember what year it was. I think it was in the last 10 where we actually had a fire death because the person was a heavy smoker. I think that there was some other things going on, but he was a heavy smoker and he actually took the smoke alarm down. We had installed one for him, but because he smoked so much, it would constantly set his smoke alarm off, and he pulled it down. And ultimately, he was in a fire that killed him, and the smoke alarm didn't allow him to be notified that the fire was happening. So smoke outside, and really, really pay attention to where you are throwing your butt, or putting your cigarette butts out, or the putting it in the ashes. I met a guy a couple of years ago who's a firefighter for, I believe it's Estes Park. He's a firefighter in Colorado. He was actually in a house fire, which ultimately prompted him to become a firefighter. But they thought he and some friends were having a great time on a weekend. They thought they were doing the right thing by smoking outside. They were putting out their smoking materials in a potted plant, not realizing that that is not something that's going to extinguish that out. The mulch in the potted plant ended up smoldering and catching on fire, which was sitting right next to the post that goes to the patio cover, set that on fire, and there were 6 people in that fire. He lost 4 of his friends that night. In fact, I think there were 2 of them that actually were able to get out of the fire. He had his body, his chest and everything, it was 3rd-degree burns. He was down in the basement, and that it was so hot that even that at that point, the heat was burning him. He was not even burned by actual flame, which is um, just shocking. All right, number 2, give space heaters space. You know, when I first started this presentation a couple of years ago, it was like, oh, we don't use space heaters here in the valley. Why would I even, but if you have it in your cabin, or if you have this, or you have family or friends that live up in the mountains, but let me tell you, I have fallen in love with my space heater. Why would I need to have my heat on, wasting all of that gas to heat up my entire house? If I'm just sitting in the living room binge watching my shows, I can have that heater on and not be affecting everything else. It is critical that you give your space heater space. That means 3 feet around the space heater, because it can radiate heat enough that will heat up something around it, like furniture or curtains, that will spark a fire. So we want to make sure that we're being very, very thoughtful about that. Number 3 is stay in the kitchen while frying food and cooking on the stovetop. As we say, stand by your pan. So, be aware. Of course, we know that there are slow cookers. We know that you can't cook a roast and stay in the kitchen the whole time. Just remember that you are cooking when you do have those long time cooking periods. Get set timers. Bring something with you. Do something that allows you to remember that you are cooking something. This is very common, unfortunately, in the college age groups. After they've partied all night, they'll go put something in the oven and then forget that they did that and go to sleep, and then we've got a cooking fire. Couple other points: don't cook when you're drowsy. Don't cook with new medication until you know how it's going to affect you. Make sure that you're wearing those tight-fitting sleeves, not the flowy sleeves like we will sometimes wear that will drag through the food and the fire and everything. So for fire extinguishers and fire stuff, a lot of times people will have fire extinguishers, but they don't know where it is, and it's dug buried deep into the cabinet. Even if they could find it, they don't always know how to use it. So if you don't know where your fire extinguisher is, you need to make sure that you find it. You put it in a place where you can grab it. You know that it's actually charged, and it should give you an indication by the little lines. Make sure that you know how to use it, and make sure that you understand that it's not going to fight some big fire. About a 2 by 3 foot kind of trash can is going to be the size of the fire it can actually assist you with. Um, it, it's actually better if you can grab that quickly and get 911 on the way. And if in any chance of you getting caught in the fire, we'd rather you just call 911 and get out. Okay. There are blankets that are out there. Not a lot of the fire community is in love with it. It will not completely smother out every single fire. I always say that whatever safety equipment that you have in an emergency is not when you learn how to use it. So if you do choose to use something like that, you understand how to use it, that you are capable of doing that before you invest your life um, into depending on that in a fire. All right, number 4, we don't teach stop, drop, and roll in elementary schools, because in preschool they've already learned how to stop, drop, and roll. And then when I ask them, what do you do when the smoke alarm goes off? They answer stop, drop, and roll, which is not correct. It's actually get low and get out, right? But if you do get fire on you, you need to get down on the ground and start smothering it out. Cover your face if you're able to, and roll around. And if someone is there, have them throw a blanket on you to help smother out that fire. And keep rolling until someone says that it's out. You can quickly get second and third degree burns from a fire, so please get medical help right away. Cooling a burn, we're not putting cold water on it, we're not putting hot water on it. You got to cool the burn down and get to the hospital so we can take care of you for that. All right, number 5, smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms. You need to have a smoke alarm on each level of your home. You really should have one in your corridor. You should have one in every single bedroom. Don't put one right into the kitchen or you'll be very angry because it'll just keep going off all the time if you cook like I do. But we need to have those in places where you can, that it will detect that fire and alert you as best as you can. If your smoke alarm is more than 10 years old, you need to please get it replaced. We cannot guarantee that it will actually alert you to a fire and help you identify that there's an issue. You can purchase smoke alarm with long life batteries, which are great, and you can also get them so that they continue to be the interconnected alarms. Interconnected mean they all talk to each other. So if the fire's in the kitchen and you're in the bedroom, we want you to know in the bedroom that there's a problem so that you can get out. You can get hearing impaired alarms if that is an issue. If you're wearing a hearing aid and you take it out at night, are you going to be able to hear an alarm? Probably not. So we should get you a bed shaker type alarm. We want to test those monthly um, and get it so that if you've changed your battery on October 1st, then put it down on your calendar to be checking, changing that battery maybe September 30th or something like that. So it doesn't wake you up in the middle of the night, but you know that you've got a fresh battery in there. Those long life batteries will go 7 to 10 years. I like to put those alarms for sure in areas that the ceilings are higher than 10 feet because none of us want to be climbing ladders that are, 2 stories tall because of the vaulted ceilings. Feel free to hire someone to take care of those for you. There are companies out there that will do that. Some of them, like Smoke Alarm Medic, specialize in installing those smoke alarms. Carbon monoxide alarms, if you have an attached garage, gas appliances, a fireplace, we really recommend that you get a carbon monoxide alarm so that you are alerted to any issues. It is odorless, it is colorless, it will wipe you out faster than you would even know, and you need to have that alarm so that you know that there's an issue. All right, plan and practice your escape. We don't often die in fires because of the flame. We die because of the smoke. So you may need to shelter in place if you are not a quick mobile person. You should go into every room that you have and identify 2 ways out. Usually it's a door and the second way out typically is a window. Can you get out that window? And what are you going to do about that second story or what kinds of things? So kind of identify where those issues are, and it's ideal that you practice it. We did speak with a lady whose husband was needed to be in a wheelchair, and she had this grand plan that if anything ever happened, she at nighttime she would lay down a sheet and roll her husband onto the sheet and then pull him um, down the hallway to get them out. Of course, that would not be possible. So we had to review some other options with them to ensure their safety. What's your local emergency number? Call 911. The beauty of the 911 system is that you don't have to remember anything else, right? And you will get help from the police department or the sheriff's department, regardless of what you need with just that one number, which is beautiful. And then number 8, again, planning your escape for your abilities. Keep your walker by you, have a flashlight, keep a phone by you, keep some shoes there if you need it. We recommend that you sleep with your door shut because if there is a fire, we have shown time and time and time again that keeping the door shut will keep that smoke out of your room. And remember, smoke tends to kill us faster than fire, and that will give you those extra precious minutes that you need to kind of get oriented and figure out what your next step is. We build our homes with highly flammable materials. What used to take, people used to have 5 to 7 minutes to get out of a house once a smoke alarm goes off. You really have less than 2 minutes now. So it is so critical that you are able to identify what your plans are and what your abilities are so that you move. And if you need help with that, we are here for you. So just like what we did before, I want you to think about what 2 things might you change now to reduce your risk of fire? Anybody want to share? one of the things I had to do, we all move into these homes and we forget about changing out those smoke alarms, and you can be there for 20 years and go, oh, this smoke alarm is 10 years old now. We need to get this changed. Some people will move into a house and think everything's good. You probably need to check there are dates on those smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms as well. Oh, good idea, Kelly. Flashlight and shoes by the bed. Yep. We don't want to be searching for shoes in an emergency. Awesome. All right, so just one last thing, please take a look at your first aid kits. Make sure that they have really good things in them, like your thermometers. Get the bigger bandages, like the knee-size bandages. When we fall and scrape up ourselves, we bleed a lot of times because of the medicine we're on, and it's not just a little simple band-aid that you can put on it. We typically need the bigger one, so I highly recommend those. Um, Update those. With any kind of medicines that you might need. If you have to do any kind of evacuation, you want to grab your stuff and be able to go. There are some really amazing first aid kits that you can purchase, but take a look at what you have so that it's fully stocked in the meantime. So that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much again for letting me come online and babble in your ear for 45 minutes to an hour. I'm going to stop sharing and see if there are any questions that I need to address um, before we close out. I want to put in a little plug. We do have a program called Home Safe Home, where we, specifically if you're in Scottsdale and if you live outside of Scottsdale, I have colleagues that do similar programs to address fall and fire issues in your home. It is free. We come help you identify what those risks are. You are able to make a decision if you want to make those changes as well. And oh yes, Kelly, I'm going to hook you up with Ashley from Glendale Fire. She should be able to hook you up with that, and if and we might even be able to connect with that. And then yes, so Ashley, it will be your person from Glendale. So Matthew, if you can help me get Kelly's contact information, I can connect those. But
I will.
it's we have found that helping you identify your risks in your home with you tend to get uh, help you reduce those risks. People will take action, much like if we helped you with your car seat, right? And again, it's free and helps you keep safer at home, which we love so much. Kelly, I don't know that this qualifies for CEUs. I'm going to let Matthew take for that. The 911 program for lockboxes. So most of the agencies will have something similar. We call it lockboxes for seniors, but it really is lockboxes for anybody who has needs. This will allow us to access your home if you call 911 and you're unable to answer the door. The premise alert will come up. We will be able to enter that code into the lockbox, which will give us a key so we can enter your home. Because if you call 911 and we cannot access your access through an open door or using that lockbox key, we have to break down doors and windows. And guess who gets to pay for that? That's not the fire department. That would be the resident. So yes, Kelly, so beautiful. We will get you connected there in Glendale because I do believe that they have that. Most of the fire departments across the valley and some police departments will manage some kind of lockbox program so that we are able to enter in there without damaging your home.
And Kelly, if you can hear me, if you would send an email to me or to Sarah with your contact information, I'll make sure I pass it along to Lori and you guys can connect that way.
All right. So beautiful. I would love for anybody who, like Kelly, wants a presentation for your home community or somewhere you live, or you have an organization and you'd like to talk about this Home Safe Home program hands-only CPR. What happens when you call 911? Yes, I can actually talk for an hour about what happens when you call 911. Emergency preparedness, any of that, we can get you hooked up to that. Those classes are free. They're not certifications, so they are free to you. And if you're in Scottsdale, I provide that. If you are not in Scottsdale, I can connect you with the people in your community that would be able to do those. Fantastic. Thank you so much again.
Lori, thank you so much for your time today. It was a great presentation. I think everybody thoroughly enjoyed it. So we really, really appreciate you spending the time to do this. So thank you.
You bet it. You guys have a safe day.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.